a landscape painter, I'm passionate about light as a subject. To be able to paint light, you need to carefully observe the light in nature, and I keep 3 or 4 sketchbooks on my workstation that are solely to do with making light notations. All the variations of a weather in a day affect the way the light plays across the landscape. Time of day plays a huge factor, as do the geographic region, the seasons and the weather. I spend a lot of time looking out of the window at the weather, at the light, at the sunrise, the way the clouds are moving across the sky, and I also go out and look at the sunsets. I'm quite lucky because I live in a rural area and I have a magnificent view that I can do that. But I go out into the landscape. I am a plein air painter as well, and I am always chasing the light. So let's go and look at some of my sketchbooks and then we'll see how we proceed from there. So these are a few of my sketchbooks that sit on my desk all the time, and I'm just going to show you a few things that I do. This is an early morning, obviously, just a pencil and wash. I do clouds. I do whatever's outside the window, really. That's another early morning one. A little bit more detailed again, this is early morning. I seem to be in an early morning sort of way of it at the minute. This would have been sort of during the day, so just a quick notation of the light. Back to the early morning. I find I use a lot of Gamboge, which is a beautiful colour. It's a new Gamboge by Daniel Smith, and I use Jaune Brilliant as well, which is an opaque colour. I'll show you the colours in a minute. And then sap greens and ultramarine blues. But I'm just making notations in a sketchbook every day. This was a foggy day, very different. And then back to the sunrise. And that was this morning. It was a beautiful sunrise. This took maybe 5 minutes. There's a bit of colour variation going on throughout. And it was so enjoyable. That's the other thing about doing quick, constant sketches. You've got that little 5 minutes of a meditation where everything is blocked out. You're just painting and enjoying what's in front of you. And this is a slightly bigger book that I use. Again, a lot of gestural pencils and then the colour washed in. Clouds, the way the light is on the water. And these are not finished pieces, these are sketches. They're in a sketchbook and they're just really for me. And they're to build up my repertoire. And these are really just for me. They're to do with practice, I suppose. Every day is a little bit different, and what I do is a little bit different. We've just got a lot of loose wash and a line. That's a difference. It's quite interesting. I might use that in a painting later on. And then a bit more gesture. So as you can see, I think keeping a working book on a desk, if you've got a view, just sit down and paint what's there. Strengthen your practice every day. So I have a working studio palette, and these are the colours. I'll list them in the description below. And I'll go through a few of the ones that I'm using at the minute. So this is the palette. It's pretty worn and broken. This arm has now come off. Never mind, we'll carry on. This is a Hansa yellow. I don't often use that on its own, but sometimes it's a very bright yellow. What I do use though is this one, and that's a new Gamboge. It's a little bit dirty there, but it's a lovely transparent orange, and that does go into a few of my mixes. This is a transparent pyrrole, which is quite a bright, almost like a scarlet red, but again it's transparent. I don't often use this. It does sort of sit there not being used. It's a colour I don't often see in the sky, I suppose. This is the Quinacridone Rose, which is quite powerful, but when you put it with the Jaune Brilliant, oh, that's my kaka. They're a New Zealand parrot and very loud. He's not mine, I mean he lives in the garden. But if you mix the Quin Rose with the Jaune Brilliant, you get a lovely pink, and that does come into quite a few of my sketches for the early morning sunrise. And a lavender, that's a very useful colour. I can mix a lavender with a bit of burnt sienna. I'll just do that, and that will make quite a nice grey, or depending how much lavender you put in, and that can be quite good in the clouds. Obviously not that dark, but you can put some water in and it will become quite an interesting cloud colour. I use a cerulean. Again, I'm usually mixing that with other blues like this Cobalt blue. Not often with this, which is the Ultramarine blue. But Ultramarine blue I do mix a lot with the sap green. So I'll put a bit of sap green. And this makes a really nice darkish green. So although these might be sky colours, I do have a landscape as well, so I am mindful of what the greens are doing. And I'll often mix a little bit of these sunrise colours or sunset colours into the green as well, just so there's some colour harmony going on. I use a natural sienna colour. My latest and greatest is this. I love this. I'm really into it at the minute. It's called Raw Umber Violet. It's a Daniel Smith colour. And they've put violet in the raw umber, which I could do too, but hey, isn't that... oh, it's gorgeous. So I'm putting that in my landscapes at the minute. And this is a Prussian blue, which I normally reserve for using on the ocean, as do the Cobalt Turquoise. But here I have a buff titanium. Ooh, I've got a bit of green in it, but a buff titanium, there we are, is a very good mixture to put in with these sunrise sunset colours, because it can tone them down quite nicely. I have a burnt sienna, which again you can mix with an ultramarine. Bit of burnt sienna, a bit of ultramarine. Makes a really nice dark, depending how much ultramarine you put in. Can get quite interesting greys. I'm quite fond, this is actually a burnt umber, but sometimes it's a Van Dyck brown, which is darker. So that's quite good for my earth colours. I do have Potter's Pink, but this is a Winsor & Newton Potter's Pink, and when it's been in the pan it really dries and it's quite hard to reactivate it, but there you can just see it. Potter's Pink I will mix with cerulean blue In fact, I've got a little pan here which is cerulean blue and potter's pink to get a grey, and that will be a granulating grey as well, and that's quite nice for clouds with the sunrise and the sunset. This is called cerulean chromium, and it's really quite a strong blue. Sometimes I will use that in the skies. This is cobalt teal. Now cobalt teal I do find good for sunrise, because if I mix it with jaune brilliant, I can get, or you can even get that duck shell egg blue, which you get in the early morning. It's sort of this creamy bluey, it's just the most divine colour, and if you get up early in the morning you'll see it, and at sunset as well you can get a beautiful, beautiful duck egg sort of colour. It's just sublime. And then I have sap green, which is just sort of bog standard sap green. Always tone it down with something, because otherwise it's just a bit much on its own. So sometimes you can put a bit of purple in it and you get a gorgeous brownie, which if you just run the two together, I think I've done a video about this, I'll put some water down, put a bit of purple here, put a bit of sap green on the other side, and where they blend together, because they're complementary, they grey each other out and you can end up with some gorgeous colours. But as I say, I've done a little video about that. So this is my studio palette, and these are mostly the colours I use for painting the sunrise. So I'm just going to remove that. So just to give you another little run through, this would be Quin Rose, a very watery wash of Quin Rose with a bit of Jaune Brilliant in it. This would be a cerulean, just a very light wash of cerulean. This will be a potter's pink because I can see the granulation in it. This is it's gone a little green, but that's kind of fun. That would be the teal with the Jaune Brilliant. And then we'll move down to a little bit of Umber and Ultramarine, and then some grey. That would have been the water. So those are the kind of colours that you're looking for the morning. They can be pearly soft, so you want a fair amount of water in them, and you don't have to use these particular colours, but I have to say I think these particular colours do actually give you some beautiful colours to work with. And just, you know, it went to the pink and the green and the nice brushwork going on. So I really do encourage you to keep day books and just see, I mean, very simple, but well, that might make a nice sort of abstract painting at some stage. That's got a bit of dynamic movement. Obviously the colour made a little bit of a bleed there, but that's okay. It's just a notation of the day. So I hope you've enjoyed this little video. I'm going to make some more about these subjects of how the weather and the light changes through the day. I've got one on rain, which might sound rather dull, but actually it was really fun. And the middle of the day, what happens to the landscape with the middle of the day, and then the sunset, which is not dissimilar from the sunrise, but sometimes it can be more intense oranges. Well, here in New Zealand, and I know in the UK you have fabulous sunrises and sunsets. So get out, get up early, have a look at them, and tell me what you enjoy about painting at that time of day. And do you take 5 minutes of the day just to enjoy your sketchbooks? So thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.